And people will say the fact that I have a huge faith, that I must be religious. No, I'm not religious, because all religions have been created by mankind. There was never a religion made by God. God's religion is power of love, love and forgiveness, love and compassion. It was to me, it was this golden white light. And then the music, this, I can only describe it, Eric, as heavenly music, celestial music, music that my human ears have never ever heard since. My name is Marielle Clark, and I'm from the west coast of Ireland. And growing up in Ireland in the late 50s was very difficult, because that time in Ireland there was a lot of skepticism about gifts, supernatural gifts, or gifts where you could communicate with the elementals, or where you could communicate with the spirit world. And I didn't know that at the time. I was born into a family that is rich in psychic gifts and spiritual gifts. My grandmother was very psychic, and she was very intuitive. So much so that she even preempted the death of her own son before it actually even happened. And my uncle was a seventh son of a seventh son. So he was extremely gifted. And my brother, who passed on to his spiritual home, he preempted his own death 3 weeks before it happened, and he was only 36. So that time in Ireland, you didn't, my grandmother, she used to bring people in the back door. You didn't make an appointment. It was all kind of under the cloak of secrecy, for fear of being judged, or worse still, fear of being called a witch. So I grew up in that field of mysticism, and it was natural, it was real. I could communicate with angels, I could communicate with the elementals, but I thought everybody could. I thought, until I went to school, that people didn't see what I saw, my schoolmates. So I became very closed off, because I felt I was different, and it wasn't a nice place to be. And then I didn't tune in anymore until I was about 16 years of age. And at 16, I had the most profound spiritual experience of my life, where I was in a grotto. Now, I have to clarify as well, Eric, and people will say the fact that I have a huge faith, that I must be religious. No, I'm not religious, because all religions have been created by mankind. There was never a religion made by God. God's religion is power of love, love and forgiveness, love and compassion. So I had a most beautiful experience before I went into college that morning, and Mother Mary appeared to me in this little grotto, in stones, just like a statue of Mother Mary on a pedestal of stones, and just water trickling down. And before that, there was always a tray for lighting your candles. So at 16, Mother Mary appeared to me, just in a cloud before the cement statue. And her head moved, and her hands were in prayer position, and her head moved from one side, and she smiled at me. And what did I do? I ran out the door, and was mortified. And I didn't speak to anybody about it. Eric, it's only in the last, say, 15 years I'm talking about it, because that time you could be put in a straitjacket and locked up for life. So then I went on and I studied the sciences, but I always had this connection. I could feel, I could see, I could hear. So I went on and I became a serologist. which is purely scientific based. So then in 1992, when I had my death experience, I call it a death experience, I had been diagnosed with very advanced cervical cancer, and I was given a year to live. But while I was on the operating table, I died, and I left my body and I journeyed into the heavens. And it was there, that's an amazing experience that I can talk to you about. But that changed my world completely, and it changed my life. And not alone that did it change my world and change my life, I came back from the dead where I had no fear, first of all, of dying. I had met my father on the other side, who told me it was not my time. And I came back and I left the work I was doing, which was purely scientific, and I focused on my spiritual development, my soul work, and it has evolved incredibly since. I'm a great believer now that I have studied. I've been very blessed, I suppose, as well, Eric, that I have studied. I was propelled on a journey after my death experience. And I studied with wonderful Master Gang Sha, who is a Chinese medicine doctor, but he was also a medical Western world doctor. Studied with him. I studied with Deepak Chopra. And these are people, I'm sure, with Dr. Wayne Dyer, Dr. Brian West. I was yearning to know more about why did I not die? I wanted to die because my life was very painful at the time. I was living in a very, very dysfunctional marriage. And in Ireland, that time we had no divorce. We just had separation. So I was living in a constant state of sadness, fear, loneliness, and most unhappy. But in Ireland, there is an old saying, you made your bed, so you have to lie in it, right? So when I was diagnosed with advanced cancer, I didn't get fearful. I said, okay, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. But on the morning of my surgery, I remember very clearly, you sign your consent form, and I was there, and I totally surrendered to whatever was going to be. And during the surgery, apparently, the surgeon said I was bleeding outwards. I lost every piece of blood in me. They couldn't stop it. But while that was happening, I was I remember just leaving my body, and I was hovering over my bed, looking down at myself on the bed, and all this fuss and commotion trying to resuscitate me. And I was saying, I'm okay. I'm actually okay. And then I remember being pulled further in. It was like, I keep describing it as a vortex, an energy vortex. And I was being pulled through it. And I remember the peace that I felt, the peace, the serenity, and then the most incredible bright light. It was this golden white light. And then the music, I can only describe it, Eric, as heavenly music, celestial music that my human ears have never ever heard since. And I felt I was being rocked in the cradle of Mother Earth and Father Heaven. I was just held safe, and I felt so much love. I felt that this was heaven, and this is where I wanted to be. And then my father's hand came out through this beautiful light. And that hand stopped me from going further. I wanted to go. I wanted to stay there. And he said, it's not my time. And then with that, I remember it was like a rush of energy pulling me back and into my body. It was like, something had just landed back. And then I heard the doctor saying, we've got her back. She's back. And about 2 or 3 days later, when I had gone through all the kind of, I suppose, recoveries, the surgeon came to me and he said, Marielle, he said, you were one lucky lady. And I said, why? I said, I was very happy where I was. Why didn't you leave me? Right. And he said, something of a higher force saved you, he says. And it was only afterwards, in my journey, that my experience after, and I call it the death experience. I know that they say it's NDE, near death experience. And I was on a panel, Eric, last year with Dr. Peter Fenwick, who is renowned in the research and in the field of near-death experiences. And he has interviewed thousands of death experiencers like myself. And I said to him, why do you call it the near-death experience? I said, I was dead. I was pronounced dead. My heart had stopped. My pulse had stopped. There was no activity in my brain, in my eyes. I was dead. I said, but why do you call it the near-death? And he said, well, my dear, he said, with the advancement of medical science and medicine over the last 100 years, we are now able to bring people back from the brink of death, right? But the amazing thing with all my research since, Eric, as well, I have met so many. They have anybody that has the near-death experience, the NDE, the near-death experience, we've all experienced similar commonalities, like floating out of your body, seeing yourself hovering over your own bed, then being pulled further into a tunnel or into, I was in a vortex, and, meeting somebody, a significant person that has passed on before you, like mine was my father. Some people have met Jesus, some people have met a guru, somebody have met an aunt or a grandparent, somebody that was significant in their lives. So when it's not your time, you will never cross that threshold into the heaven. You will always be sent back. And what I have found is the fact that I've been sent back, and many, many more. We come back, and first of all, we have no fear of dying. And secondly, our gifts have been activated and anchored very deeply within us so that we will use them in service to humanity. For me, yes, there is a God. There is somebody somebody created this world. This world has been created by an amazing omnipresent bigger presence, love. This world, and we on Earth, I mean, when you think about the way the planets orbit each other, the way the mountains and the rivers and the sun rises in the morning and the moon at night, and all of this grand design just didn't happen by somebody clicking their fingers. It was a creation, and it was a master creation by God, whoever your God you aspire to, who is God. And for me, He is the Father. He's the Father of all creation. God to me is the absolute. He's He is the unconditional loving presence that I can't even describe the beauty, the peace, the love. And for me, God is the one. And I know they're telling me now while I'm even saying this, right now in this world, there is so much war. There is so much atrocity. There is so much pain. And I've been asked, well, where is your God now in all of this? But I have to remind people as well that it is mankind's own greed and power that has created these wars. Power and greed and control. It is man against man, brother against brother, that has started all of this. And all of this has been prophesied to play out, Eric. So we are at the end days of this phase of darkness. And this darkness is going to pass. And sadly, yes, there is a lot of innocence and innocent people that have been totally caught up in these wars for centuries, not just in the last year, what has gone on, or in the last 2 years, but the innocent people that have been caught up. We must bless and pray for all of those and their families. But for me, God is forgiving. And from what I experienced on the other side, the love and the peace that I witnessed and that I have seen since, it is just heaven. It is beautiful. It is home. It is home. And I'm sure, Eric, you've heard of Einstein. Einstein believed in God because he believed that something far more magnificent and a spirit far superior than that of man created this world. So I loved when I was doing my research years ago and I came across Einstein believing in God, because I thought the fact that Einstein was a physicist and a renowned man, that he didn't believe in anything but science. So he even went as far as saying that the only thing that science can prove with certainty is that it can't prove anything at all. And then there are other amazing guys like, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, Swedenborg, Descartes, all those amazing, philosophers and physicists and inventors and doctors. They all believed in God. And they believed also in the soul. And they believed that the soul was the most divine and significant part of the human frailty. And when I do say God is the creator, and it doesn't matter for me, Eric, it doesn't matter whether you believe in God as Allah, Buddha, Krishna, Great White Spirit, Yerod, Mecca. It is the one source of creative power. And God is He creates us in this human form, in this human body, but there is a spark of God essence distilled within each of us. And each of us carry that spark of God creative essence in us when we come on earth. And when you say, why are we born? We are born because we have a soul purpose. And as I was saying earlier, a soul purpose could be, like for me in this lifetime, it was to learn to forgive. It was to forgive and to show love. For you, it could be maybe you have to learn what it is like to be poor and not to have enough money to you could be like a pauper in this life and you could be a king in another lifetime. And it's about getting the balance right. But ultimately, our purpose here on earth is to grow more soulfully. And what is happening now, I find in my work, we are, as a world and as a nation, we are becoming more materialistic. We are becoming more about, what things that we have, how big is our house, how big is our car, how many holidays can we take in a year, how many vacations, as you call it. But what's happening there is, Eric, that we are trying to make ourselves out to be God ourselves. We don't think we need God, and that's what's happening in our world where all our wars are. People have lost that connection with their God purpose on life. People have lost their ability to communicate with God. They feel God has no meaning for them. So with no meaning, you have no purpose. And with no purpose, then you can allow darkness to overshadow your light, your God light within. And that is where our conflict comes in the world. That is where our war comes in the world. And when we feel that we are more powerful than the God creator, then we have lost that identity of godliness within us. And that is why I'm very passionate about my God purpose, which is for me looking after those that are dying right now, helping those to cross over and make life easier for the family that are situated around the bedside. Because with me, I have experienced when people are lingering for, say, a few weeks in their dying process, they're afraid. And in Ireland, people were afraid, Eric, of dying because they were afraid they were going to go to hell, right? Hell was created by our church to put the fear into us. You know, if you don't give enough money to your church or to your priest, you're going to go to hell. If you lie, you're going to go to hell. If you have sex outside of marriage, you're going to go to hell. If you have a baby out of wedlock, you're going to go to hell. You know, if you lie with another man, you're going to go to hell. So all of these indoctrinations were part of our Irish culture and upbringing. So what I found, especially older people, they were terrified of dying. And that's why the process of dying was so traumatic, because they were afraid to let go. They were afraid of the unknown, afraid that they were going to hell. So it's lovely when I'm able to sit and be with these people that are about, these beautiful souls that are about to make their transition, and to be able to talk them through the journey. And sometimes I have been blessed that I'm able to actually hand them over through the veil between, it's like a membrane between the earth and the heavens, to be able to just hand them over. And I've been blessed where I know who's taking them across the other side. I can see with my spirit eyes. So, you know, there is so much, and there is such a beauty in knowing that there is a God presence that overlights us. And it's nothing got to do with religion. Religion is a non-runner. As I have said earlier, Eric, all religions have been made by mankind. There was never a God religion. So I work on the energy of love, and it is about love. And when we do cross over, when we do have our life review, we have what is called a life review. And you know, sometimes, Eric, you might have heard people saying, oh, my life just flashed before my eyes. And what that is you are given. I have seen it. It's like there is a screen before you, and all the people that you impacted in your life when you are on the other side. For me, I was lucky. I was told it wasn't my time. It's not your time, go back. but you are shown your life review like in snapshots. And it's shown how you impacted your life, your thoughts, your words, your deeds, how you related with other people. It wasn't about how many holidays you had. It wasn't about how many cars you had. It was about how you treated your fellow human being. And that is what earns you grace and virtue. It is nothing got to do with power and greed and money. It is how you treated your fellow human being. And even how you treated your animals, because all animals have souls as well. And sometimes our animals are not looked after either, unfortunately. So if you have shown inhuman unkindness to any animal, not alone human beings, you earn karma for that. And karma is a bitch. It comes and it bites you on the ass, and you have to be accountable. All our actions, we are accountable for every single thing we do on earth. And I know that sounds scary. So it's so much easier to show love and gentle acts of kindness. How many of us take time to, even during, say, our pandemic here a few years back, how many of us took time to knock on the neighbor's door, see were they okay? How many of us brought the shopping to elderly people? How many made a call? What did we do to show love? And even this Dr. Ivan Alexander, the guy, the neurosurgeon, he wrote that God and soul are real. And it's only through believing in God and soul that true healing happens. And it is so important that we don't lose sight of our God selves, because we wouldn't be here. I mean, it's not just a matter of two people coming together, if it's male and female, and making love, and all of a sudden, wow, bang, a baby. It is the miracle of life is incredible. And while it takes two people to form that cell and that union, the nucleus and the cell and the embryo to form, but that formation, if you were to break it down, and this is my science mind kicking into touch, if you were to break it down, all the organs, all the cells, all the bone structure, the brain, the way it has, with its intricacies and its neurons and protons and electrons and, oh my God, the DNA and the RNA, that just didn't happen by one session of making love and becoming pregnant. This is a creation. Every baby is a masterpiece, and it's beyond, and it is God made. And that's, I'm very passionate about that. And for anybody that is struggling, and I work a lot with suicide as well, and for anybody that is feeling that life is not worth living, I would ask them with all my heart and soul, please just open your heart and say to one person, I need your help. I feel that I am losing control and I don't want to be here anymore. Reach out and open your heart, and know when you reach out, nobody will judge you. They will love you all the more for being honest and vulnerable, and you are exposing your vulnerability and you're asking for help. And that help is always there, because when I work with those that are, suicidal, it is because they felt they couldn't ask, that they would bring shame to themselves, shame to a family. And when they see that the overwhelming love that family has, when they're in that state of vulnerability, they're overcome with love, and they're able to work through the challenges. But in working through the challenges, the biggest challenges are our greatest teachers. And those that give us the biggest challenges, like our friends, our parents, our teachers, our friends, our bosses, they're the ones that we learn the most from. How we master them is how we grow within ourselves. And I would just say there is so much love still in the world. And I wish so much love and peace and joy to all that are listening. And I bless them in that purity of God and purity of love. And I wish them peace. And if you're not in peace, ask for help, and it will happen.